I had a parent insist her son couldn't possibly be failing my math class because he was an expert at calculating the cost of his video game microtransactions. She demanded I come over to her house and watch him navigate the in-game store, claiming it was advanced real-world financial literacy. She then accused me of having a personal vendetta against gamers when I explained that his V-Bucks balance couldn't be submitted for extra credit. A mom told me her son couldn't be the class bully because he was a Sagittarius, and their astrological sign makes them passionate truth tellers, not aggressors. She then handed me a printout of his full natal chart and suggested I align my lesson plans with the lunar cycle to better accommodate his cosmic energy. When I showed her witness statements from 3 other kids, she said their zodiac signs were probably incompatible with his. A parent claimed her daughter's failing grades were a direct result of the school's Wi-Fi. She said the negative frequencies were scrambling her brain waves and preventing her from absorbing information. She brought a special crystal and tried to perform a cleansing ritual on my desk to improve the classroom's energy field, chanting and waving it over my gradebook. A mother came in to complain about the book, Charlotte's Web, being in my curriculum. She wasn't upset about the talking animals or the death of a main character. She was furious that the book promotes witchcraft and occultism because it features a spider who can spell. She demanded I replace it with a book about less demonic insects, like a patriotic bald eagle or something. A mother insisted her son's constant talking in class was actually a sign of his future career. He's not being disruptive. He's networking, she explained. He's a future CEO, and he's building his social capital. You should be encouraging his leadership skills, not sending him to the principal's office for talking out of turn. She then handed me her son's business card, which was written in crayon. A father argued that his son shouldn't have to learn about fractions. When is he ever going to use this? He scoffed. Everything is digital now. You just type it in. You're teaching him obsolete skills for an un-analog world. I tried to explain the importance of foundational math concepts, but he just pulled out his phone, opened the calculator app, and said, "See? Problem solved. Your job is finished." A dad came in furious that his daughter had a C in my history class. He slammed his fist on the table and yelled, "I don't pay my property taxes for my daughter to get average grades. C is for communists and criminals." He then demanded I change it to an A because his daughter was an American patriot and deserved a grade that reflected her unwavering love for this country. It was completely surreal, like he thought grades were a patriotism score. A parent accused me of being anti-technology because I wouldn't let her son use ChatGPT to write his essay on The Great Gatsby. She said I was stifling his digital fluency and preparing him for a world that no longer exists. She then genuinely asked if I still used a chalkboard and rode a horse and buggy to work. I pointed to the smartboard behind me, and she just scoffed. A mother was furious that I wouldn't let her daughter redo a test she failed because she was texting during it. "This is unacceptable," she said. "My daughter is a perfectionist. She needs to be allowed to achieve perfection, and your no-phone rule is an obstacle to her self-actualization." She then accused my class of having a toxic culture of imperfection. I scheduled a conference to discuss a student's constant disruptions. The mother arrived with a thick binder and said, "I've been documenting your microaggressions against my son." Her evidence included me saying, "Good morning," in a sarcastic tone, using a red pen, which is a known psychological trigger for anxiety, and not calling on him that one time he raised his hand, which she called educational neglect. A parent was angry about a homework assignment that required students to interview a family member about their childhood. "You are invading our privacy," he yelled. "What we discuss in our home is our business." This is a blatant attempt by the school district to determine our family's personal history for government databases. The first question on the sheet was, what was your favorite game to play as a child? Kinga Hino. A dad came in to discuss his son's poor grades. He looked at the report card, sighed dramatically, and said, "Look, I'm not going to lie to you. He gets his brains from his mother." His wife, who was sitting right next to him in complete silence, just stared at him with a look of pure fury for the rest of the meeting. The tension was so thick you could have used it to build a house. I had a parent who insisted their child's inability to turn in homework was my fault because I didn't synergize with their families. Workflow paradigm. I'm a third-grade teacher. When I asked him to explain what that meant, he just kept repeating corporate buzzwords like actionable items and leveraging assets until our time was up. The kid still has a pile of missing assignments, or, as the dad calls them, unactionable deliverables. I was explaining to a mom that her daughter was struggling with reading comprehension. The mom cut me off and said, "That's because you're teaching words, not vibes." She's an empath. She reads the emotional frequency of the text. She then asked if I could start grading her daughter's book reports based on an interpretive dance. She would record at home, as that was her true form of literary analysis. A dad argued his son deserved an A for effort in my Spanish class, despite not knowing a single word of Spanish. He tries really hard to think in Spanish, the dad claimed with a straight face. The words just don't come out, but the intention is there. And in today's world, isn't it the intention that really counts? I told him no. In Spanish class, the Spanish words count. A mother told me her daughter couldn't do PE because she was allergic to running. Not exercise-induced asthma, but a literal allergy to the physical act of running. She said it caused her aura to become inflamed. She had a note, which she had clearly written herself on a napkin, to prove it. The school nurse framed it in her office because it was so ridiculous. I had a parent conference where the mom spent the entire time on her phone texting and scrolling through social media. When I finally paused and asked if she had any questions about her son's academic performance, she looked up, annoyed, and said, "Yeah, how much longer is this going to take? My daughter's TikTok dance recital is in 20 minutes. And I'm her cameraman. The lighting is best at this time." I had a parent complain that the history textbook was biased. I asked what the issue was. She said, "It only shows the American perspective of the American Revolution. Where is the British side of the story? It's completely one-sided propaganda." I had to gently explain that we were, in fact, in America, and that this was a U.S. history class. She accused me of being a nationalist. Her father spent the entire 15-minute conference trying to sell me on his multi-level marketing scheme involving essential oils. He claimed that if I just diffused some focus blend in the classroom, his son's F in science would magically turn into an A. He even offered me a 10% discount on the $300 starter kit if I agreed to change the grade right, then and there, calling it a mutually beneficial partnership. I showed a dad a pile of his son's incomplete assignments. The dad looked at me, completely serious, and said, "He's not lazy, he's a minimalist. He believes in quality over quantity." I pointed out that the quantity was literally 0. So the quality was also 0. He just shrugged and said, "Exactly. Pure, unadulterated potential. You can't grade potential, can you?" A dad threatened to call the school board because I wouldn't let his son wear a t-shirt with a giant marijuana leaf on it. "It's a plant," he shouted. "It's natural. Are you going to ban shirts with trees on them?" Next. This is a violation of his freedom of expression and his botanical rights. I had to explain the school's drug-free policy and dress code to him like he was 5 years old. I showed a mother crystal clear video evidence of her son cheating on a test by looking at his phone hidden in his lap. She watched the video, nodded thoughtfully, and then said, "He's not cheating. He's resourcefully accessing external information." Isn't that what you want him to do in the real world? You should be rewarding his problem-solving skills, not punishing him for being ahead of your outdated rules. I had a parent insist that I communicate with them exclusively through Snapchat. They said emails were too formal, and phone calls gave them anxiety. They wanted me to send them daily updates on their son's progress using funny filters. When I politely declined, they accused me of being out of touch with modern communication and creating barriers to parental engagement. A mother was irate that her son was getting a low grade for participation. "He's an introvert," she yelled, startling me. "You are discriminating against his personality type. This is a violation of his rights as a quiet person." I explained that his introversion involved sleeping with his head on the desk and drawing violent cartoons of his classmates. She said that was just his internal artistic expression. A mother complained that her son was being bullied by the lunch menu. She said the presence of vegetables on his plate was an aggressive assault on his dietary preferences and was causing him emotional distress. She demanded a special all-beige menu for him, consisting only of chicken nuggets, French fries, and plain pasta for the rest of the school year. A father came in to discuss his son's blatant plagiarism. I showed him the original article from Wikipedia and his son's paper, which were identical, word for word. The dad looked at both and said, "I don't see the problem. The information is correct, isn't it? He just saved time. It's called efficiency. You should give him extra credit for being a good project manager and finding the answers so quickly." Said, I was meeting with a student's grandparents because the parents were too busy. The grandfather looked at the D on the report card and said, "In my day, a D meant dandy or darn good effort." He was completely serious. He then spent 10 minutes telling me how grade inflation has ruined the country and that my C's were basically today's A+. So, his grandson was actually a misunderstood genius. A father told me not to worry about his son's terrible handwriting. "He's going to be a doctor," the dad said with a wink, as if he was letting me in on a secret. "He's just practicing his prescription signature." The son was in 4th grade and could barely write his own name legibly. I suggested we focus on passing 4th grade before he starts his medical residency. I had a dad who, after seeing his son's failing grades, asked me, "Okay, so what's the bare minimum he needs to do to just pass? Let's not aim for the stars here. Let's just aim for not repeating the 6th grade. Give me the cheat codes." He then pulled out a notepad and a pen, ready to write down his master plan for achieving a solid D-. A mom was furious that I gave her daughter detention for skipping class. She had a very important reason, the mom insisted. I asked what the emergency was. It was the 1-year anniversary of her favorite celebrity's dog passing away. She needed to grieve in a safe space. You're so heartless and clearly don't understand the complexities of modern mental health and parasocial relationships. A mother insisted I was grading her son's art projects too harshly. "Art is subjective," she declared. "There's no right or wrong." I then held up his project, a single sad-looking brown smear on a piece of gold paper. The assignment was to draw his family. She looked at it without missing a beat and said, "It's an abstract representation of the complex and sometimes messy nature of familial bonds." I had a parent show up to the conference reeking of cheap beer and wearing a stained T-shirt. He kept calling me Teach and tried to give me a noogie. He then explained that his son's bad behavior was because boys will be boys and that I needed to lighten up and stop being so sensitive. He finished by offering to take me out for a drink sometime to smooth things over and show me a good time. A parent was upset that her son lost points on his science project for not following the instructions. He doesn't believe in instructions. she said proudly. He's a free thinker who forges his own path. You're trying to put his creative genius in a box. His project was supposed to be a model of the solar system. He turned in a potato with googly eyes glued to it that he called Mr. Spudnik. A parent came in to complain that I was too cheerful in the mornings. Your relentless positivity is putting a lot of pressure on my son to also be happy, she said with a completely straight face. He's more of a brooder. He needs a more melancholy and pensive learning environment to truly thrive. I didn't know how to respond to a request to be sadder.